What if you started living like success wasn't just possible, but promised? Think about that. What if the path you're on wasn't built for failure, but designed for greatness? Most people never ask themselves that. Most people wake up and play defense. They wake up bracing for what's going to go wrong instead of preparing for what could go right. They doubt. They hesitate. They shrink. Not because they're weak, blame, but because they've been trained to think small, trained by failure, by fear, by people who gave up on their own dreams and passed that mindset on. And without even realizing it, we begin to live as if we're just trying to survive this life, not win it. But here's the truth. Winning is not reserved for the lucky. It's reserved for the ready. And readiness starts with how you carry yourself, how you act. There's a switch in your mind, and most people never flip it. They go through life hoping things will change, hoping something external will come and give them the permission to be great. But no one's coming. And that's not bad news. It's the best news. Because it means the power has always been in your hands. You don't need the world to validate your worth. You need to decide that you're worthy. You need to act like you're meant to win. Not just once, not just when you're motivated, but daily, relentlessly, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, that's when most people check out. That's when most people say, maybe I'm not meant for this. But what if that exact moment is the proof that you are? What if the resistance you feel isn't a sign to quit, but a test to see if you're really ready to rise? And here's the reward for those who keep going: clarity, power, direction. When you walk like a winner, talk like a winner, think like a winner, you start attracting what winners attract. That's not fantasy, that's psychology. That's momentum. And momentum starts the second you believe the win is already written in your name. This isn't about being fake or cocky. This is about walking into a room with quiet confidence. Blame, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you finally realize you belong there. It's time to stop rehearsing your failures and start rehearsing your future. The way you walk, the way you talk, the blame, the way you show up in the smallest moments, that's your foundation. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to see the proof. Act like it now. Because the longer you wait to believe in yourself, the longer you delay the life that was already yours. If you stay with this message till the end, you're going to feel something shift inside you. You're going to remember who you are. Not who life told you to be. Not who people expected you to be. But the version of you that knows you're not here to play small. You're here to win. So don't miss this. Because once you understand how to act like you're meant to win, everything else in your life starts to follow. Keep watching. The transformation begins now. Now let's talk about why this works, not just in theory, but in your brain. Because the way you think, the way you see yourself, it's not just a mindset. It's a wiring. Your brain is constantly watching how you act, and it shapes your identity based on your behavior. That's why when you act like you're supposed to win, your mind starts building the belief that you can. And once belief is built, action becomes easier. You no longer have to force confidence. It becomes natural. You no longer fake it. You embody it. But the truth is, most people are stuck in the opposite cycle. They act uncertain. They hesitate. They hold back, and their brain takes notes. It says, this is who we are. Someone who stays small. And so it repeats that pattern over and over again until shrinking becomes their identity. Your thoughts are powerful, but thoughts alone won't move you forward. Action is the trigger. Psychology proves it. Your brain is designed to follow what you do more than what you say. That's why acting like a winner even before you see results matters. You're teaching your nervous system to recognize strength, to tolerate risk, and to lean into challenge. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about reminding yourself who you really are before life buried it under fear, doubt, blame, and delay. Somewhere deep inside, you remember that version of you, the bold one, the one that didn't care what anyone thought, the one who wanted to lead, to build, to rise. That part of you didn't die. It just got quiet. And now it's time to wake it back up. So how do you begin? You stop treating confidence like a reward and start treating it like a decision. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They decide to act ready. They stand up straighter. Blame, they speak clearly. They move with intention, not because they have all the answers, but because they've already made the choice. I'm here to win. That posture, that energy, it communicates something powerful, not just to others, but to your own brain. It tells you, this is who I am now. And here's what's wild, your brain starts to cooperate. Blame, it starts looking for evidence that backs up your new identity. Suddenly you notice progress. You recognize your strength. You handle stress differently. You recover from setbacks faster. Not because life got easier, because you got stronger, and it all began with a shift in how you show up. That's why how you act, even when no one's watching, matters. Every choice, every movement, every word, It's building or breaking your belief system. Blame. So if you want to win, you've got to build a mind that expects it. And that begins by acting as if it's already yours. Stop underestimating the power of small changes. A single bold step can create a ripple that rewires your entire identity. The moment you hold your head up when you usually bow it. The moment you speak when you'd normally stay silent. The moment you walk into a room like you belong. These aren't random actions. They are statements to yourself. And the more you repeat them, the more you change. Not just how you feel, but who you are. This isn't motivation that fades. This is transformation that lasts. Because once you begin showing up like a winner, you leave no room for the old version of you to lead anymore. You rewrite the story, you flip the switch, and soon life starts to follow your lead. Now that the belief is forming, blame, it's time to match that belief with behavior. You don't become a winner by thinking like one alone. You act like one daily. And acting like a winner isn't about showing off. It's not loud. It's not flashy. Blame, it's in the discipline. It's in how you show up when no one claps for you. It's in how you speak when you're not sure anyone's listening. Winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They build routines that don't depend on mood. They walk into the day already decided. They're not figuring out if they'll give their best. They've already committed to it. Start small. Start with your morning. A winner doesn't hit snooze 5 times. A winner doesn't scroll aimlessly first thing. A winner gets up with purpose, even when they're tired. Especially when they're tired. Because they know how you do the little things is how you'll do everything. Winners take control of their space, their time, their focus. They cut distractions. They build habits. They prepare even when there's no spotlight. Because winners understand that success doesn't begin on the stage. It begins in silence. It begins in repetition. It begins in the decisions no one sees. Your body language matters. The way you stand, the way you walk into a room, it sends signals to your mind. Psychology confirms that when you hold a posture of power, your brain adapts to it. You start feeling stronger even if you weren't before. You speak with more weight, blame, more clarity, more conviction. Not because you're pretending, but because you're practicing. You're teaching your brain over and over, this is who I am. And the more you act like it, the more your mind makes it real. Blame. Winners take risks, not reckless ones, but bold ones. They raise their hand when it's uncomfortable. They take the shot when they're not sure it'll go in, because they know hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever could. Weigh blame. If you wait until you feel brave, you'll be waiting forever. Courage doesn't come before the action, it comes after. The moment you do what you were afraid of doing, the fear starts to dissolve. And every time you act in spite of fear, you grow more powerful. You become a little more unstoppable. Consistency is the secret, not intensity. You don't need to give 100% one day and then crash the next. You need to give 80% every single day. That's what winners do. They don't burn out chasing perfection. They build strength through persistence. They don't need motivation every morning because they've built momentum. And once you have momentum, the game changes. You don't rely on feelings. You rely on your habits. You rely on the fact that you've already decided who you are. And now your life is catching up. You can't wait for the world to treat you like a winner before you act like one. You have to go first. And when you do, the world starts to respond. People notice your energy. Opportunities open. Confidence builds. Because the energy you give is the energy you attract. Walk like it's already yours. Speak like you know your value. Work like the result is guaranteed. That's not pretending. That's aligning. That's training your identity to match your vision. And once those two align, vision and identity, there is no limit to what becomes possible. But even with belief and action, there's something that tries to sneak in and steal it all. Fear. Fear of failing. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. And it's loud. It's the voice in your head that whispers, what if I mess up? What if they laugh? What if I'm not ready? That voice stops more dreams than failure ever will, because failure at least means you tried. Fear makes sure you never even start. And here's the truth. Fear doesn't disappear as you grow. It evolves. But blame, it follows you to the next level. But winners know something others don't. Fear is not a wall. It's a signal. It shows up not to block you, but to tell you that you're heading somewhere meaningful. Blame. That's why acting like a winner doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you move anyway. It means you stop waiting for fear to leave and you start walking through it. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing not to be ruled by it. Every time you step through fear, you gain power. Every time you speak up when your voice shakes, you build muscle. You become stronger, bolder, more free. And the more you do it, the more you realize that most of your fears were just illusions, walls you built in your mind that were never real in the first place. Rejection is another one. That sharp sting of not being chosen, not being accepted. But rejection isn't the opposite of winning. It's a step in the process. Every person who ever won big lost 100 times first. The difference is they didn't stop. They didn't take it personally. They didn't make rejection their identity. They understood that a no now doesn't mean no forever. Winners keep showing up. They don't need the world to believe in them to take action. They take action until the world can't ignore them. Pain is a powerful teacher too. Sometimes life hits hard, unexpected losses, betrayals, delays. Most people fold when that happens, but not you. Not anymore. Blame. Because acting like you're meant to win means you learn how to turn pain into power. It means you don't waste your struggle, you use it. You don't ask, why me? You ask, what now? And that shift changes everything. A blame. Winners don't avoid hard times. They let the hard times carve them into someone even stronger. Every time you push through fear, every time you stand back up after rejection, blame. Every time you use pain as fuel, you're building something no one can take from you. A mindset, a belief, a fire. And that fire is what separates those who dream from those who do. The difference isn't talent, it's toughness. It's the willingness to keep going when nothing is certain. It's the discipline to act like a winner, even when you feel like anything but. So when fear shows up again, and it will, don't back down. Face it, walk through it. Blame, talk to it if you have to, but never let it lead, because if you're going to win, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to keep moving forward with shaky hands and a steady heart. That's where real power is found, not in the absence of fear, but in your decision to rise anyway. And every time you do, you take another step into the life that's waiting for you. The life that already has your name on it. Throw away the blame. Look around. Most people aren't losing because they don't have the skill. They're losing because they keep shrinking themselves to fit into a world that rewards boldness. They stay quiet when it's time to speak. Blame. They wait when it's time to move. And deep down, they know it. They feel that ache, the gap between who they are and who they could be. That's the cost of playing small. That's what happens when you live by fear, instead of walking in the identity of someone who's meant to win. There are only two kinds of people in this world. The ones who react and the ones who lead. The ones who hope life gives them a chance. Blame, and the ones who create their own. One will always be chasing approval. The other builds self-respect. One will wait for permission. The other gives themselves permission. And the truth is, you get to choose which one you'll be. Not once, but every single day, in every decision. In every moment, you can choose to shrink or you can choose to rise. Not because it's easy, but because it's time. Blame, your identity isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's shaped by the choices you make, the risks you take, and the words you speak to yourself. If you keep telling yourself you're not ready, blame, you'll never be. If you keep acting like you don't matter, no one will treat you like you do. But the moment you flip that narrative, the moment you say, I'm done living small, everything shifts. Blame, because now you're not just thinking differently, you're becoming different. Winners don't become winners by chance. They become winners by decision. They decide who they are before the world agrees. They act like the job is already theirs. They walk into rooms like they belong, even if their knees are shaking. That's not arrogance, it's belief. It's intention. And your brain responds to that. Your brain doesn't wait for the world to tell it what's true. It believes what you show it through action. That's how you build an identity that can't be broken. Not by failure, not by rejection, not even by doubt. Throw away the blame. This is why winners think long term. They don't need instant praise. They don't get distracted by every opinion. They don't need everyone to understand their vision. Because they're not living for applause. Blame, they're living for purpose. And when your identity is anchored in purpose, you become unshakable. You stop flinching every time someone questions you. You stop quitting every time it gets hard. Blame, you stand tall, not because everything's perfect, but because you've trained yourself to keep standing no matter what. If you want to be a winner, then stop looking at your past for proof and start creating your future with action. Think about that version of you who's already made it, the one who's confident, the one who's disciplined, the one who commands respect. Now ask yourself, what would they do today? How would they walk? How would they speak? Blame. How would they handle the pressure? Then go do that. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, because that's how you build the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to be. You've got power inside you that's never been tapped. Not because it's missing, but because you've been doubting it. And now it's time to stop. The world is already loud. Life is already hard. Blame. Don't add to it by becoming your own biggest critic. Become your own ally, your own motivator, your own reminder that you were built for more, that you were meant to lead, that you were meant to win. So don't wait to be chosen. Choose yourself and don't look back. This world doesn't hand out victories. It hands out pressure, tests, and setbacks. It doesn't ask you if you're ready. It checks to see if you'll fold. And every time you back down, it takes a piece of your confidence with it. But every time you rise, every time you stand tall when it would have been easier to quit, you earn something deeper than applause. You earn self-respect. And that's the foundation no one can shake, because it wasn't given to you. You built it. You earned it. You can't keep living like life owes you something. It doesn't, but it will respond to what you demand of it. It will move in the direction of your action. And that's the shift the moment you stop asking for guarantees and start showing up like the outcome is already yours. The moment you stop hoping and start declaring. Blame. Winners don't wait for signs. They become the signal. They don't wait to feel powerful. They decide to move with power. That's the difference. That's what separates the ones who try from the ones who take over. Nothing changes until you stop negotiating with your potential, until you stop treating your goals like options. Winners don't ask, should I do this today? They wake up and move. They work through fatigue. They create through doubt. They push through the quiet seasons when no one notices, when no one claps, when nothing feels certain. That's when identity is forged. Not when you win, but when you refuse to give up during the losses. Blame. That's where greatness is born. That's where the foundation is laid. And here's the truth. When you act like you're meant to win, you stop chasing things that don't matter. You don't chase validation. Blame. You don't beg for attention. You don't need approval because you already know who you are. You're focused, you're grounded, you're driven. And people feel that. They feel your certainty. They feel your presence. Blame, and the world begins to adjust to your energy, not the other way around, because when you move like you're supposed to win, life opens in ways it never did before. Doors unlock. People listen. Blame. Challenges shift from threats to opportunities. It's not about pretending you have it all figured out. It's about deciding to walk like you belong, even when you're figuring it out as you go. Every leader started unsure. Every success story began with risk. The difference is they didn't let fear make the final decision. They didn't let doubt set the tone. They acted boldly, consistently, relentlessly, and so must you. This is your life. No one is going to build it for you. No one is coming to push you forward, and that's not something to fear. That's your power, because it means the next step is always in your hands. Not the system, not the noise, not your past. You. So ask yourself right now, what would my life look like if I stopped waiting and started walking like it's already mine? Don't wait for the world to see your worth. Walk like it's undeniable. Away the blame. Don't wait for opportunity to find you. Move like you're already inside it. And most of all, don't wait to feel like a winner. Act like one every moment, every word, every step. Because once you do that, you're no longer hoping to win. You already have.